Hey guys, Darkstar here. This vlog is actually going to be a response to XtrmJosh. He posted a video claiming to know that when XenoBot injects into the Tibia client, it increases Tibia's memory, which leads to... One sec, I need to get everything opened up. Which leads to being easily detected because of memory increase, obviously. Let me close this one program I have open. Okay, so... I'm going to show you exactly what he showed you so you can see what he's talking about in case you haven't seen his video. There's Tibia. It's using 32,000K, so 32K of memory essentially. So we'll open up XenoBot, we'll inject, memory increase. Now he says that's detectable. Well, here's the thing. We're going to restart. I'm going to open up Tibia again, and I'm going to attach a debugger. Now let's just maximize it. I'm going to attach this to Tibia. And then I'm going to open the executable window showing all the executables inside of Tibia. These executables are DLL files that Tibia has loaded to do things it needs to do. Some of these DLL files in turn load other DLL files, and I'll get to that soon. But here you see Tibia. So first, let's look for NTDLL. That is the NT kernel that handles interop between the kernel space and the user space calls between WinAPI functions. So if we look here, we will see the size is 0018 trailed by zeros, flat. This is on Windows 7. Now let me open up a virtual machine. We will open up the same version of Tibia. I'm not sure if my first example will work, but it should. Okay, so we're going to attach to Tibia. Open up executable modules. Now, we see NTDLL 000AF trailed by zeros. Note there's one extra zero in the beginning. This file, I wouldn't say is significantly smaller than the corresponding Windows 7 version, but the XP version is smaller. It has a different size. Now, if we want to compare kernel 32 DLL, we see it's 3 zeros, then F6. If we come up to the one on Windows 7, and we look for kernel, which I can't find because there's so much shit, which I'm actually going to get to. Wow, my eyes are missing me. Kernel, different size, right there. So, one other thing, well, that clarifies that libraries that Tibia natively loads do have different sizes, therefore take up different memory space, and I'm going to go over heap allocation in a minute. But let's open back up the VM backup. Look how many modules Windows 7 has loaded, and look how many are loaded on this VM. Now this VM is basically a naked Windows XP. I use it for malware analysis. So it doesn't have anything on it. It's reverted to a clean install snapshot with only my tools. Over here, this is my main operating system. I have programs that might have to inject code because legitimate programs do inject code into other programs, which causes the memory increase and the detection, which XtrmJosh talks about. Which is why there's so many more libraries in this one than there is in this one. So there's point one, but let's totally ignore that point and pretend what he said is legit. At 3 minutes and 10 seconds into his video, he shows going into code, and he basically says, well, XenoBot's code goes here. No, it doesn't, because how it actually works is every file has what is called a PE header. This is a portable, well, not every file, every executable file has what's called the PE header. This is a portable executable header, which tells Windows what is in this executable, what it does. So if I take this, I'm going to drop it on PE view. We have these sections right here. This is where everything is stored. All this stuff is just definitions. This tells you the file signatures, but these sections are what we're worried about. The .text section specifically is where all code is stored. It's called .text, but it's really where it stores all of the code for the executable. So this is where all of Tibia's code is stored. Now, all these sections have different meanings, but if you notice, they all have a virtual size, a virtual size, a virtual size. Now, when it loads tibia.exe, what it's going to do is it's going to get the virtual size of every section, and it's going to map that into memory. It's going to allocate as many pages as it needs, sometimes a little extra space tacked on the end, which depends on the page size, which can differ between versions. Sorry, I'm getting a little gassy. And it will allocate and then write these sections to those chunks of memory. So these sections are always going to be the same size in the heap. Now, when it loads, I'm going to pull it up in Depends. It has in that PE header what's called an import table, the import address table. And this is where it imports all the dynamic link libraries it needs, which you see right here. These are all the DLLs Tibia imports from. These all have their own PE header, and these are all allocated to their own space in the heap in the same way tibia.exe is allocated to its own space in the heap. All of these also have DLLs. They depend on its recursive process loading, but everything gets loaded into their own memory space, because if you notice here, Tibia's at the base 00B3. This DLL right here is at base 0636. All of these have different base addresses because they're all in their own memory space. And XenoBot is loaded in the same way, so it's not in between Tibia's code. It's in its own isolated memory space. Now, like I said before, there's legitimate reasons for DLLs to be inside a process and increase its memory, but on top of that, viruses will also do this. At 4 minutes into his video, he mentions, well, viruses read memory, so Tibia can't just say any memory read to Tibia is going to be a bot. Well, the same goes for an injected library, because viruses inject into processes more than they read memory. Reading memory is quite easy to detect with a simple rootkit using system hooks. So is injection. So if he wants to say that you cannot detect memory reading because viruses do it, he also has to admit the fact that you cannot just detect plain injection because viruses also do it. However, that is not true. Detection is far more abstract than these simple facts. I only went 5 minutes into his video, and I decided to make a response blowing that up. I don't know what else he said, and I haven't slept in like 40 hours, so I really don't care to watch what he says, because as far as I'm concerned, he does not know what he's talking about. I'm going to end it here because I have disproven what I've watched so far of his videos and explained heap allocation, which he failed to do, even though he was using it as a premise for why XenoBot is detectable over other bots. But yep, that's it. So careful what you watch. Don't believe him. Don't even believe me. If you want to know how this works, Google it. It will tell you. It'll explain the forking process, the allocation process, and if I'm wrong, feel free to call me.